Town Square Media Station.
WTUG HD2 Northport.
And W265CG Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9. WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa.
A Town Square Media Station.
One man to beat, you could forget about it. Touchdown, Alabama.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning, welcome to the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show also can be seen on the social media platforms of YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter under Martin Houston Speaks. It's a beautiful Friday morning. We're glad to be here with you, live, local, and ready to get things going. I want to invite you to join us in the conversation at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline, live, local, and ready to get things going. So we want to make sure that you're part of the conversation. Go ahead and join us by doing that. Or if you want to get in on the conversation via chat, you can always chat us up on the social media outlets, and we will get you into the conversation. It is a wild free-for-all Friday as we'll go back through and look at some of the big stories for the week. And, of course, talk about the upcoming Weekend of Champions. Alabama not a part of that conversation this time, but does that conversation in any way lead to the possibility of Alabama getting into the college football playoffs? And if not, what's next for the Tide? Is there major concern on you today when you look at what the potential of what this weekend could mean to Alabama or not for Alabama, however you want to look at it? Because Alabama, we already see some of the remnants of players dipping and getting out of here. And this is only for those who have graduated and eligible to put their names into the portal immediately. Will there be a rash of players that throw their name into the portal come Monday and after? Remember, we'll talk about it right here, and we want you to be a part of the conversation. So once again, call us up at 205-342-9904, the Alabama One hotline. If you want to talk about it, we want to talk to you about it. Remember that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Text and type today to know that someone loves, someone serves, someone be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Well, we'll kind of do some reviews of the week. I got several topics and questions and things that I want to get to, but Kind of what's on your mind from this past week?
Yeah, no, it's been a good, strong week when it comes to being able to cover Alabama as far as how soccer's been able to compete and is getting an opportunity to play in the Final Four. You have some more recruiting news. A big 4-star out of Mobile, Sterling Dixon, committed to Alabama yesterday for the 2024 class. He's from Mobile Christian, former high school teammate of Deontay Lawson. So he's a big grab for that class as well so far.
Yeah, and when you think about recruiting, has Nick Saban? I know recruiting is the lifeblood of Alabama football, but has he emphasized that too much? Has up until now the last couple of years, um, has that been the right formula? And Joe, I'd like to get your thoughts on this as well. The formula has been recruiting, is where he starts off with the coaches he's going to get. And if you did not make the grade in recruiting, then you weren't on his staff very long. But have we got to a point now in football that maybe Saban has to shift his formula from, and I don't know what percentage I would say he looks at it, but I would say it's been definitely heavy, lean recruiter to coaching, developer. It's been, probably at least 40. And now, does it need to be more 50-50? Maybe you even go 40% recruiter, 60% developer. What are your thoughts first, X, and then I'll get you, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, when Alabama was at the top, you had guys that were elite at recruiting and developing, and we've still really good on the recruiting end. I mean, the number where we finish every year, number 1, number 2, maybe number 3 on a bad year is still there. But I think the development side has been lacking. But I mean, when you have guys like Asal Sunseri, Kirby Smart, or Jeremy Pruitt, all these guys that are head coaches now or have decided to step away from coaching as they've gotten older, it's showing that a part of the development has dropped off.
Joe, has the game changed enough that Nick Saban's formula of being the best in recruiting may not be enough to be the best on Saturdays?
Well, no, I think it all starts still with recruiting. I mean, you have to have you got to have the players in there to execute your schemes. But exactly like Xavier said, you got to address the lack of development over the last couple of years, and a lot of that probably comes from the coaching staff.
And so, and think about it. I agree with you both. Is that if Coach Stallings always says it starts with the Jimmys and Joes and not the X's and the O's. And that's true. You can have the best scheme in the world at Vanderbilt, but you're still not going to beat Alabama. So you can wish upon a star all you want. That's never going to be the case on a consistent basis. But what you can't do is have Jimmys and Joes that are equal to Georgia and equal to Ohio State and equal to LSU and equal to Tennessee, etc., and be lacking in the X's and O's and be lacking in the maturity and the development. And I would say that if you looked at this staff, that would be a potential concern is what's the X's and O's of this staff and what's the development of this staff. When you think about it, 19 kids last year, not counting the kids who graduated, but 19 kids into the portal. And we're sitting at what, number 7 right now, or 6, because Kyrie Jackson had to come out of the portal. We're looking at 7. I mean, we know 7 ultimately. So it's we'll check it out and talk about it in terms of what's happening with that. So let's talk about that. If he keeps recruiting, how or what can he change in the recruiting? Because it's not enough to just recruit the talent when everybody else is. And has Nick Saban put himself in a situation where his recruiting of high school is still going good, but is it potentially going to be a problem with the fact that we now have a gap between the guys who are going to be older and the younger guys? For instance, we talked about at X where there's only, I think, 3 wide receivers on this team that are connected to that class of 2021 and 2020. Out of the 7, only 3 left.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that, and of course you have Jermaine Burton transfer in. If he comes back, we don't know what's going to happen with him yet. If he's going to enter the draft, stay at Bama, or re-enter the portal, you just don't know yet. But when you have that gap that gets created, and yeah, you'll have some of these sophomores that have played a handful of games this year, an Isaiah Bond, a Kendrick Law, and you still have Aaron Anderson and Shaz Preston who are redshirting this year. But it does create that gap as far as the experience. You're only looking at JoJo and Ja'Cory Brooks as guys that have gotten a lot of playing time. You have Ty Jones-Bell, another guy from the 2020 class who I expect to transfer just because we haven't seen him on the field in 3 years, really. So you're talking about potentially 5 of the 7 guys that would be upperclassmen this coming up year gone.
Yeah, that'd have been an interesting impact there, and we'll continue to talk about that. We'll go back and review a couple stories from this past week. We can, on a free-for-all Friday, we can look at was last Saturday the last time we see Bryce Young in an Alabama uniform. We can talk about the change in college football that's on the horizon with the 12-team playoff. That's on the dotted line. We can talk about does Alabama have any hope of getting in? Do you feel any worse or any better about that? At the end of the week, as you mentioned, some big recruiting news. Signing day only a couple weeks away, early signing period, which is the new signing day for college football. And I'd like to get Joe's thoughts on this, will the Drake May rumor potentially impact Alabama's signing day on the early signing period? If you were Eli Holstein, would you be worried about the Drake May story? We can talk more about that. And hey, it's a free-for-all Friday, so if you have something you want to bring to the conversation, please just throw that out there or give us a call. Post it on chat or call us on the Alabama One hotline at 205-342-9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks, everything pretty quiet on this Friday morning. It is Friday. But if you do see conditions throughout the day that folks need to hear about, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. It's the holiday season, and Townsend Nissan says, gotta go. Gotta get a deal, at Townsend Nissan, your hometown dealer. I'm Captain Ray.
It's the Tuscaloosa Community Calendar, powered by Pepsi.
This year marks the 75th anniversary of Toys for Tots, delivering hope to less fortunate children. Over these past 75 years, Toys for Tots has distributed 627 million toys and supported 281 million kids. You can help out this year by dropping off a new unwrapped toy to Tuscaloosa Toyota, located on Skyland Boulevard East. And don't forget, your toy donation will be matched by Tuscaloosa Toyota to help even more kids have a happy holiday.
There's got to be more to Christmas than fighting for parking, tired feet, and crowded malls. Well, Jesus said, "My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you." Look to him and have a Merry Christmas from Taco Casa.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Sky partially sunny today. Tuscaloosa's high 66. Tonight, increasingly cloudy with the low at 59. And for the weekend, cloudy tomorrow and Sunday. Occasional showers are likely both days. The high tomorrow is 65. The high Sunday, 61. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 40 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. Getting a few comments, got a few callers. We'll get those into the conversation right here. We have Leighton Law. First time I've heard that name. So if Leighton, you're new to the show, we want to thank you for getting in on the conversation. But before I'm going to read Leighton's comment, then we're going to get to a couple callers. Guys, I want to I try to be a man of integrity, and I want to apologize to Chuck Hunt yesterday. I was a little short to Chuck on the air when I brought his call in because I was frustrated with something else. So in front of you and the world and everyone else, Mr. Chuck Hunt, who is a faithful follower of the Martin Houston Show, I appreciate you. This show is the Sound of Bama Sports, your show, your team, and it's about you guys and what you bring to the table. And so I want to personally, on the air, apologize to Mr. Chuck Hunt from Louisiana, Monroe, Louisiana, who's a regular contributor to the show. Thank you for what you do, and I apologize for being short with you on yesterday and taking out my frustrations on you. So, Roll Tide, welcome back into the fam. I see you checked in on social media and just wanted to make sure I did that. But back to Leighton Law. He says, I think our recruiting has gotten lazy and just wanting to sit behind the computer and get the 5 stars versus guys with raw talent. Look at the running back Ole Miss got last year because Lane Kiffin was at the Super 7. Then the big kid that Clemson is stealing this year that was in the Super 7. Why are we just sitting behind a screen looking at max prep ratings? So, X, comment on that real quick. Leighton Law land down the law that Alabama, even though we're getting the guys, are we resting on our laurels and just going after the 5 stars? Because to his point, when was the last time we saw or felt like we had a Josh Jacobs or what was his name, Rashad? From Soldier that was just an everyday guy, and give you your brother Simeon said the other day, man, we need some Levi Wallaces. I said, what do you mean? He said man, we need some guys who come in here to Alabama hungry, knowing they're going to have to earn it and work for it. And we've got to the point where we have these guys who come in and they already, this is me adding this. They have a handout with this NIL deal because of what they've done in high school, and they feel no need to improve and work on it in college. Thoughts?
Oh, no, I agree. I've said it. I'm in a group on Twitter of Alabama guys, and I said I want guys who want to be at Alabama because they want to wear that A on their chest, that have a pride in just wearing the jersey, not just what Alabama can do for them, but what they can do for Alabama. So I agree. Sometimes I think we look at these stars and we get enamored by it, but not every 5 stars is success. And you see a lot of 3 stars that end up being success because they're late developers, that they're a little undersized. A guy like a Malik Benson, who's committed to us in this 2023 class, who says he wouldn't have been a 5-star coming out of high school if he had been in a system where they threw the ball. He was at a high school where they ran it, and he had to go to JUCO, and he's earned his keep there to get a scholarship from an Alabama. So I agree with that completely.
All right. Let's go to the phones. I think Joey has an interesting concept or viewpoint on the playoff conversation. Joey, you're in with the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I just had since the bowl games seem to be open, I don't know if there's contracts anymore where teams from conferences have to go to bowl games. And all this talk of, well, Bama should be 5th or Ohio State should be 5th or whoever. Why not pair up the 5th and 6th team in these other bowls and then the 7th and 8th? That way, if the teams this weekend win, then Ohio State and Bama are not going to be in the top 4. So why not pair them up in a bowl game instead of let them just contact writers and everybody complain? We had that. Have we, Martin?
I mean, I know why they don't, but I'll let X address it first, and then because
money.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Is money. But X, when you think about that, in the football world, it totally makes sense to me. But why don't they do it?
I mean, money's a big thing about it, but at the same breath, they want to keep some of these old traditions still going. They want to see the Big Ten versus the Big 12 in the Rose Bowl just because of the history behind it. They want to see the SEC in the Sugar Bowl. So, yes, money is a big part of it, but even though they're making changes, they still want to keep those traditional bowl games of what they are, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I would go with that as well. Joey, is when you look at this current playoff, the reason the 12-team playoff was even an issue or a delay was because of the Rose Bowl and wanting to keep its traditional ties, right?
Yeah.
And so that's part of the problem. But to me, here's the thing. If they rotated around or whichever team got the highest rank, for instance, you could still do what you're talking about and do it fairly if you did it this way. If Ohio State is the one that's missing out, if they miss out and Alabama miss out and the Rose Bowl is not one of the other bowl games, one of the semifinals or finals, then you let the highest rank. So if Ohio State came out number 5, then you go play in what? The Rose Bowl.
The Rose Bowl.
If Alabama was number 5 and didn't get in, then you would go to the Sugar Bowl. All right?
Right.
Yeah, let me tell you another one. If you were talking about doing this, and if you want to keep the traditional things out there, and it's Alabama and Ohio State sitting at 5 and 6. Joey, would you like to see an Alabama? Joey, you're an old SEC fan, like long time SEC fan. Yeah. What do you think would be the result with a 10-2 Alabama and a 10-2 Tennessee in the Sugar Bowl, the old traditional SEC matchup?
I wouldn't be for it, although
why?
some people might. I mean, just because they've already played each other.
Yeah, but that's
you remember Alabama played Ole Miss. In the last Sugar Bowl that was outside. I don't know if they had played each other that year. I don't believe they have. That was when Alabama won 12-0.
Yeah, but man. But for me, if Alabama's going to end up playing Kansas State because they're number 6, and they're going to end up playing the runner-up. If TCU wins, they're going to end up playing the runner-up in the Big 12. Man, give me Tennessee and Alabama all day long. You see what I'm saying? I like that.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's the matchup you're probably looking at. If something like that is what you're going to be looking at if Alabama doesn't make it into the playoffs. So, just an interesting thought there. And what's your preference of the team? So, but anything else you got for us?
Just one little thing that you go on with recruiting. I don't know if you mentioned it. Someone did. Something's got to happen with this portal. Whether a player has to stay 2 years, not just 1 year. But it was mentioned that if a coach leaves to go to another school, if a player from where he's leaving follows him, they've got to sit out a year. Is Southern Cal. It may have been you who mentioned that.
Yeah,
Cal, the quarterback followed the coach out there.
Which led to a domino effect. The kid from Southern Cal went to Ole Miss.
Wide receiver go out there.
He had he took several with him. USC has 19. Think about this. Alabama lost 19 players to the portal. USC signed 19 players from the portal. You think that's the reason that USC may be in front of Alabama this year? So, I mean, but the question becomes, can they maintain it, Joey? And that's the part we don't know. So, but good point. I do think that I'm not big on restricting players that much, but there are some caveats that I would be okay with. And a coach leaving one program and taking a kid with them potentially would be one of those that I may be okay with. I hadn't thought about it that much, but that may be something that I'd be okay with if they did that. But also the kid that's at that program, to me, if that happens, the kid at the other program, Joy, should get 2 moves. If a coach comes to my program and he brings his quarterback, then that move doesn't count when I leave that school, because he's already communicated to me what
he wants to.
He wants the other guy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he already told me he wants the other guy if he brings his guy with him. So, and I am at an immediate disadvantage because that guy's been in his system at least 1 year, if not multiple years. And we know that familiarity with a system here's the greatest example of that, Joey. Do you realize that Jalen Hurts, who is him and Tua are probably 2 of the leading candidates for MVP in the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know this is Jalen's first time since he was in high school having OC for 2 years in a row?
I didn't know all of that, but I knew he bounced around at Bama. I mean, with college,
he had a different one every year at Alabama. Had a different one when he went to USC. Had a different one his first year in the pros. And from my understanding, this is his first year to have the same coordinator, the same offense, the same scheme. And guess what they're doing? They're actually running it to his skill set. So there we go. And that's why it matters. Thanks, Joy. Appreciate that content.
Thank you for letting me on. Bye.
Oh, no doubt. Thanks for being a part of the show. Any comments on that before we get to break?
I mean, I think it's a good concept, as you said, but I'm not a big fan of restricting and limiting guys. But it does impact the game, and it does impact how things are ran. When you can have a coach leave and then his quarterback and wide receiver and some offensive linemen and guys like that transfer with him, it helps that situation.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Curtis Moore saying, who cares what bowl you go to if you're not in the playoffs? Saban said that 4 years ago. It's more true now than ever. But will the 12-team playoffs solve that problem? We'll talk about the 12-team playoff. We'll talk about whatever's on your mind. We got a couple callers that we'll get to. That conversation is on the docket for the next quarters, the second half, as we kick things off right here on the Martin Houston Show. We want to thank the great folks over at Overflow Express Wash, overflowexpresswash.com. You can check them out. They will help you keep your car clean inside and out. And right now, man, that's what you want. You don't want to be outside getting wet and soaked, washing your car. You want to be able to drive up, drive through, and drive out with a clean car that is clean. And then if you want to do a little vacuuming, you can clean the inside out at no charge. All a part of the package. The monthly fee starting at $23.99. That's Overflow Express Wash, overflowexpresswash.com.
This is a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update.
I'm Kim Rankin with your Tide Sports Update. 3 more Alabama football players have entered the transfer portal. The Alabama Crimson Tide football team is ranked number 6 in this week's college football playoff rankings. The Philadelphia Eagles are creating a Christmas album for the holiday season. 3 Alabama alums received NFL Weekly honors.
This has been a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update.
Run it again!
For more info on these stories and more, download the Tide 100.9 app.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
It's the Tuscaloosa Community Calendar, powered by Pepsi.
The West Alabama Chamber of Commerce encourages you to shop local this holiday season. They want you to flock to our local businesses. So join their Fa La 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 Men Go Shop Local Challenge. Each weekday morning, November 28th through December 16th, the Chamber will post a clue to which local business the Flamingo is hiding that day. The first person to find the Flamingo and bring it to the Chamber will receive a gift card to that location. Don't miss out on the clues. Follow on social media at West Alabama Chamber.
Hey, Tis the season for Nike, and right now, Famous Footwear has you covered with up to 30% off select Nike for a limited time. Shop the hottest styles, like Nike Court sneakers for the ones with sporty swagger, Nike Signature basketball shoes for those who got game, and Nike Air Max for the throwback enthusiasts. Shop online and at a local Famous near you, and step into the swoosh.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with Awakening. The team and I would like to invite you to this monthly community-wide praise and worship service featuring intimate worship and powerful preaching of God's Word. Please join us at the link, that's 610 Watermelon Road, Northport, Alabama, or watch online at Empowerment Ministries on Facebook. That's Awakening, powered by Empowerment Ministries, the third Thursday every month at 6:30 p.m. Please pray for us and join us if you can.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Hey, we want to talk about 12-team playoff, but you may want to talk about something else. Xavier, real quick, 12-team playoff, like it, love it, hate it, think it's crazy. Thoughts?
As an Alabama fan, I love it. I don't see Alabama falling out of the top 12 very often, if at all, over the next 5 to 6 years. Once it's kicked in 2024. So for an Alabama fan, I love it. I mean, does it make the road a little bit harder? Yes, but I feel like Alabama's.
All right. Joe, what are your thoughts real quick before we get to some callers?
Well, I think that I mean, especially this year, you see that you've got 10, 11, 12 teams that can really stand on their resume, and I think that I'm for it. I've gone from being for the 14 playoff to I think I'm for 12.
And Joe, but in fairness to you, this has not been a traditional year. It's usually been maybe 6 teams with a legit conversation piece for the most part. But I think the portal, NIL, and the 12 team all kind of marries together. And when it's all settled, it's going to make college football a lot more fun to watch, not just at the beginning of the season, but through its conclusion for college football as a whole. What I'm excited about, Joe, is we're now not saying a coach or a team has to be perfect to get into the playoff and deserve a chance to play for a championship. Because right now, there's very few people who would take TCU over Alabama, Ohio State, or even Tennessee right now if these teams were going into a playoff. But because TCU plays in a different conference, doesn't have same competition, they get in. When you look around the top 10 teams, who does TCU have on their schedule that's in the top 10 or been in the top 10? You see what I'm saying? I mean, so I think that makes it a good idea, because I think the transfer portal, NIL, is going to impact college football, where every year you may not have programs and it may be a bunch of different people that find themselves in this mix, but there will be good teams that go from one year being a 6-7 win team to the next year being a 10, 11, 12 team. And they'll be a good team, not necessarily a good program, because of the portal and the NIL ability to draw people to your program. So looking forward to seeing how that all works itself out. Pat, you're in with the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, good morning, fellas. Sorry I couldn't get in yesterday. I was bad sick. I've been in bed 24 hours. Feel great this morning.
You feeling better?
Oh, man, feel great this morning. I wanted to talk a little bit. X touched on it a little while ago. That Benson is coming in as a wide receiver, number 1 wide receiver in the country in JUCO. And that he is definitely a 5-star talent, along with Jefferson. Hey, we're going to have a middle linebacker that runs 4.3. 4.3.
Can he tackle, Pat?
4.3. Well,
Can he tackle?
You understand, Martin, that this is all this, everybody gets a trophy kind of thing that's caused this not being able to tackle bit. When you and I played football back years ago, we played bull in the ring. Hey, play bull in the ring anymore, Martin?
That's right. Hey, listen, I want to remind you that Auburn had 320 yards pretty much without a passing quarterback. And we knew that that's what they were going to do. And they still got 320 yards.
5 yards, yes. Yes, that worries me. But what worries me is that Elijah Davis looks like he's going to South Carolina. And undoubtedly, Coach Saban knows something that you and I and X doesn't know about these defensive linemen, because I would have put an all-out blitz on bringing Elijah Davis, who looks like a full-grown man, to Alabama. What do you think, X?
I mean, I think Alabama is looking at James Smith, and I think they're going to get him. So I think that's what he's looking at. You know, having a guy that's going to be there for 3-4 years versus a guy that would be there for 2.
Okay. I got you. Just we need immediate help. Is all I can say. That's what I was looking at. I mean, because he passes the eye test for sure, and let's hope that we do that. And hey, perhaps Dabo's woes over there that hey, we might get the young man to visit Alabama before the paper meets the pen. What do y'all think?
I think you need to hang that up, Pat.
Hang that up, okay. Hey, can't be wishful thinking. Now, come on, X. Hey, y'all have a blessed weekend, and thank y'all for taking my call today. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. Real quick, couple comments on the tackling. I mentioned about the tackling. Curtis Lewis said, get over the 4.3 crap for a linebacker. Virgil Williams said they need to stop trying to just hit someone. Wrap up, the fundamentals are not being taught anymore. And I would tell you that I know for a fact Alabama does not tackle as much at practice as they used to. Tackling is one of those things you can't do unless you do it. In Georgia has a similar schedule from what I was told to what Alabama used to have when everybody was going away from physically hitting at practice and going to that NFL model. You just don't hit. The other part of that is, what do teams try to do when they have a hurry up, no huddle? They try to go fast, right? So if you take a guy to the ground every time, like fully tackle him, what happens? You lose a lot of reps throughout practice. So some teams, and I'm not saying that Alabama does it to that extent, but I know that that's also part of what has hurt the whole tackling ability. A couple people saying that they don't like the 12 team. They think it's too many. I mean, I don't think it's too many. I mean, Joe, how many goes into the FCS?
Oh gosh, I think it's 32.
Yeah,
either 32 or 16.
How many goes into basketball for March Madness?
64.
Well, and a play-in.
Yeah.
So guys, yeah, I mean, think about it, guys. We're saying that because of what we've become accustomed to. We watched the college season all year. The bowl games will pretty much become null and void in terms, even more so in their relevance. But I don't have a problem with the 12 games if it's going to be providing good football. And it's just like the NFL playoffs. How many teams make it in the NFL playoffs? About 16, I think. Something like that.
14.
14. So I knew it was close to that number. So I just think it'll be a transition and a change.
It is 24 for FCS.
Okay, 24. So Todd, you're on with the Martin Houston Show on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning, Martin, X, and Joe. Man, great show, great comments all the way around. This transport portal, I've always said it's a two-edged sword. You benefit from it, and you lose from it. You got, I don't know what is the number of boys now in the transfer portal going out right now. They believe they can create more value for themselves with another team. And man, I'm just thinking, how can you leave that crimson jersey to go? You're sixth in the country, and you can only improve 5 spots. And so unless you're transferring to one of those schools that's up there, unless you feel like somebody else is going to be in the top 5 next year.
Let me give you an example of that. Shane Lee left Alabama, and he's in a better spot today than he was if he was still here.
Yeah, it does. It does happen. Yes, sir. It absolutely does. And one thing I want to, give kudos to Saban. I don't want him to coach his team. We want to see all these boys get on the field, but for some reason or another, they're not producing in practice enough to his standards to get them in the games. And so I believe if we would see these practices, and think about this, Martin. Have you ever missed it in the kid that you coached?
Todd, I agree.
Yes.
But that means that Saban is missing on virtually every kid because no one is playing except for the first teamers. So okay, Todd, let's answer this. Christian Leary, what happened to Christian Leary from the spring to the summer to the fall? What happened to Tyler Harrell? What you couldn't put Tyler Harrell in and run a deep route all year? What happens with you had Jamarian Miller, who you used up his time. You telling me you couldn't find anywhere to get that young man? That young man may be the best tough runner we got on the team, right? But what I'm saying is when you're blowing teams out, Todd, that's when you find out if a kid is a gamer or versus a practice guy. Okay? I mean, that's how you find out. We had opportunities this year where Saban did not play, Alabama did not play backups. Austin Peay, tell me how you don't play guys that are second and third team guys against Austin Peay.
I guess those are questions that we may never know the answer to. That Saban, he only knows the answers to those questions.
And okay, so let's say he's right. Those kids can't practice, Todd. Is it going to cost him more to have let them play despite what they've shown in practice, or is it going to cost him more with them transferring because they didn't get to play?
Great question, Martin. I don't have an answer for you.
Well, I can tell you what I do. I see them. I see their names going in the portal. I mean, you have to think. You have to think. We are down a complete signing class already, Todd. We lost 19 kids last year, 6 this year. So that's a complete signing class that has gone into the portal. And we've brought in, I think, 4 guys, and I don't think it's finished. So I think that when you miss a whole class, it begins to impact you, your practices, your schedule, your development, your growth, etc. Anything else you got for us?
Man, I just want to say, Roll Tide guys, thank you for taking my call, and you guys get everybody, all of us, fans, thinking about, the portal, the coaching, the players. You guys cover it all, man. I really greatly appreciate you guys and the job you do, man. Appreciate you.
We appreciate you, Todd. And I know you come from that coach's background, so I know you understand that there's some guys that you want to help them out, but they just won't practice. And so it's hard. And for a coach, it's hard to put that guy in the game. I get that, but the game has changed around that. And so now you have to figure out, am I going to go against one of my principles and put this guy in despite what he's shown me at practice? So appreciate you, Todd. Thank you, sir. All right. Hey, let's just run straight on through and get out a little early so we can go ahead and get these callers. Chuck Hunt, you're in with the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. This is the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning. Just chiming in on what you all have been talking about with the transfer portal. It's been quite interesting, and it's something with a turn of events. What happened that you were talking about? I told you about who's named the head coach at Georgia Tech. Show you how things turn around. I looked at Willie Fritz was named the head coach at Georgia Tech, but he decided to stay at Tulane. And Brent Keys, former Alabama assistant, who's interim head coach this past season, is now officially the head coach at Georgia Tech. And Willie Fritz realized he is a great thing down in New Orleans with the transfer through the transfer portal. You see how well Tulane is doing. They play for a conference championship tomorrow. They play for the conference championship, and that's what has helped Tulane. Tulane is a private institution, which they don't have all these. It's not like LSU. They have higher academic standards, but what happened? They went through and a transfer portal helped them. They say, hey, look, we want a winning football team, and also I heard you talking about USC. USC is not your grandfather's football team. Think back to John McKay and John Robinson. But I think about when Pete Carroll was coaching there, he was ahead of his time. Think about with NIL, but what happened? It got them in trouble. But I look at now with Lincoln Riley, he doesn't have to deal with those type things.
Yeah, and Lincoln Riley's going to do great at USC. I think USC, you think about where a lot of the top quarterbacks are coming from, a lot of the top wide receivers are coming from. And California all of a sudden is producing some high-level recruits that are actually panning out. And so Lincoln Riley with the NIL and the money and the opportunities that he can offer there will make USC, I think, a perennial contender. So I appreciate that, Chuck. Yeah, and to your point on the transfer portal, it has made
all right.
Have
a great weekend.
Yeah, sir. Thank you. And it has made Tulane a contender. And as he was talking about that, it made me think, X and Joe, real quick. Does Trent Dilfer get UAB to a point where he may even have a guy or two with the excitement and the way he plays the game and his NFL connections and all that? Do you see him possibly pick up one or two of these transfer portal guys from Alabama and Auburn that played their ball in state that may go to Alabama or Auburn that doesn't play? For instance, we got a guy named Tim Keenan that was a monster in high school. He hadn't got on the field here. Does Trent Dilfer create a program that maybe these guys transfer to? I mean,
it's always a possibility. And as you said, his connections with the NFL, his connection with some of these high school quarterbacks through the Super 11 or the Elite 11 and things of that nature could be a pool for a guy that's like, hey, well, I'm not playing here, but I have this relationship already with Trent Dilfer. Maybe I can go there and be successful.
Joe, any thoughts on that real quick before we get to Robert?
Well, I mean, I think that's what the transfer portal's for.
Yeah, totally. That's what I'm saying is you think. Let's give an example, guys. Let's say Jalen Milroe isn't happy at Alabama, but he kind of likes where he's at. Doesn't want to necessarily don't want to go back home. Does Trent Dilfer become an interesting landing place for a guy like Jalen Milroe, a guy who can coach quarterbacks and has a nose for quarterbacks and is known for producing quarterbacks? Does he become attractive? Does UAB become attractive? You just never know what the impact ultimately is going to be. So can't wait to watch all that good stuff play itself out. Robert from Mobile, you're in on the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, man, how do you get this busy on a day when there's no Alabama football this weekend? Hey, one thing I don't like about what's the conversation that's going on right now, especially with TCU and USC. I think we had this conversation before. I don't like this idea that if they lose, they're out. They should have been out and have to win to play their ass off then. That's what should have happened then. And they could kick Alabama or Ohio State out. The committee really screwed up on that one. One extra game, and the only thing you can do is cost you. That's not a good way to do things. And
Yeah.
here's one question for me: how's the structure for these playoffs going to be? Is it did they get the automatic qualifier for conference champions?
I don't think they fully settled that on exactly how they're going to structure it, Robert. But I agree. I think TCU has to get annihilated, Robert, for them not to make it in. I mean, I really do. And I don't think that a one-loss TCU would fall below a two-loss Alabama unless it is absolutely embarrassing. So, but they have not figured out the structure from what I know, from my understanding, in terms of the way they do it. They talked about it some in terms of having, the top four be on a bye and the first round games being on campus, maybe the first one or two rounds being on the higher ranked team's campus. But
now that's talking about something that's exciting.
Man, could you imagine if it was Alabama and Ohio State playing here? All right. Let's get out of here, man. We appreciate you, Robert. Thanks for calling. Thanks for being part of the show. Hey, as we wrap things up, want to remind you and invite you to come join us over at Harvest Church this Sunday at 10 a.m. Sunday school, Bible study at 9. We appreciate you being a part of the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on the radio dial. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding, always acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. For Martin Houston, Xavier Houston, Joe Gaither, we say have a blessed weekend and roll Tide out there, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks, everything pretty quiet on this Friday morning. It is Friday, thank goodness. But if you do see conditions throughout the day that folks need to hear about, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. It's the holiday season, and Townsend Nissan says, gotta go. Gotta get a deal, at Townsend Nissan, your hometown dealer. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Friday morning. Counselors are in Samantha this morning to help students, faculty, and staff deal with the death of a popular teacher at Northside High School. 48-year-old science teacher Jennifer Bible passed away yesterday. Bible was a longtime faculty member at Northside High School. She taught science classes, including anatomy, earth and space studies, and environmental science. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your